Now, you might think you've had a taste of luxury if you've ever sat in the back of a Mercedes S-Class, but let me tell you, that's like comparing a Reliant Robin to a Rolls-Royce Phantom when it comes to the chariots these world leaders roll around in. We're talking about the pinnacle of automotive engineering, security, and, well, let's be honest, sheer ostentatiousness. From bulletproof limousines to mobile command centers, these are the most expensive cars owned by world leaders. We're about to take a deep dive into the opulent and frankly terrifying world of armored vehicles where luxury meets military-grade protection. We'll be exploring the cars that scream, "I'm important, get out of my way," in every language imaginable. So buckle up, grab your crash helmets, and try not to spill your champagne as we take you on a high-octane tour of the most insane armored cars owned by the world's most powerful people. Right then, let's kick things off with a bit of British pomp and circumstance, shall we? This is the Bentley State Limousine, the official chariot of choice for His Royal Highness, King Charles III. Now, you might think that a Bentley is a bit pedestrian for a king, but trust me, this is no ordinary Bentley. This beast is about as long as a double-decker bus and probably weighs as much as a small moon. It's got more presents than 1,000 beefeaters lined up outside Buckingham Palace. And the best part, it's got a retractable roof, which is perfect for those royal parades, when Charlie wants to pop his head out and wave to the adoring masses. Now, this wouldn't be a proper world leader's car without some serious security features, would it? And let me tell you, this Bentley doesn't disappoint. It's got armor plating so thick you could probably drive it through the Tower of London walls without breaking a sweat. Rumour has it that this thing can even withstand a direct hit from a rocket-propelled grenade. And if things do get a bit hairy, there are apparently oxygen tanks, and even supplies of the Queen's blood type on board. Now that's what I call being prepared. Next up, we're heading east to Russia. Where else to have a gander at Vladimir Putin's ride of choice, the Aurus Senat. Now, you won't be surprised to hear that this thing makes a London taxi look about as intimidating as a fluffy kitten. It's built like a T-34 tank and probably handles speed bumps with similar grace. This is a car that doesn't just exude power, it practically radiates it. If Darth Vader were to swap his Death Star for a set of wheels, this would be it. It's the automotive equivalent of a bear wearing a fur hat and drinking vodka. In other words, it's utterly terrifyingly Russian. Now you might be thinking, Jeremy, surely the inside of this thing is about as luxurious as a gulag? Well, my friends, you'd be surprised. The Aurus Senat might look like it belongs in a Cold War bunker, but step inside and you'll find yourself surrounded by enough leather and wood veneer to make a Romanov blush. Of course, it's not all about comfort. This car is also packed with enough technology to make Elon Musk jealous. We're talking secure communication systems, night vision cameras, and probably even a button that launches a tactical nuke. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the idea? Chapter 4, Anthony Albanese, BMW 7 Series, Commonwealth 1. Now, some of these world leaders like to flaunt it, you know, make a bloody spectacle with their gold-plated limos and whatnot, but not our next contender. Oh no, Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, he prefers to keep a low profile. This is the BMW 7 Series, Commonwealth 1, and you wouldn't look twice if it trundled past you on the street. It's the automotive equivalent of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Underneath that unassuming exterior, though, lies a fortress on wheels. You see, the Aussies decided to upgrade their security detail after some, shall we say, incidents. Apparently, chucking a shrimp on the Barbie doesn't solve everything. This Beamer is rumoured to be resistant to just about anything a bloke could throw at it, from high-powered rifles to, well, more shrimp. It's got enough technological gizmos to make James Bond jealous. But they're keeping those details tightly under wraps. And good on them, I say. A little mystery adds to the allure, wouldn't you agree? Now, I know what you're thinking. A BMW for a world leader? Isn't that a bit, well, common? But don't let that fool you. This isn't your average run-of-the-mill 7 Series. This, my friends, is the armoured version. That means it's got more steel plating than a medieval knight suit. The windows are thicker than my skull after a night at the pub. And the tyres, run flats naturally. You could drive this thing on the rims after a nuclear apocalypse and barely notice a difference. They don't release official performance figures for these armoured beasts, and frankly, who can blame them? But I'd wager this thing packs a punch when it needs to. It has to ferry the Prime Minister around, and those blokes are always in a hurry. All in all, the BMW 7 Series Commonwealth 1 is a lesson in understated power. It's a car that says, I'm important, but I don't need to shout about it. And in a world of ostentatious displays of wealth and power, that's a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Chapter 5. Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Bentley Mulsanne Grand Limousine. Right, now let's hop over to a place where subtlety goes to die, the Middle East. Specifically, Qatar. This is the chariot of choice for Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and my word, it's a bit of a behemoth, isn't it? We're talking about the Bentley Mulsanne Grand Limousine. A car so long it makes a London bus look like a Mini Cooper. This thing is absolutely colossal, stretching over 21 feet from bumper to bumper. I mean, good luck finding a parking space in Doha for this beast. Inside, it's exactly what you'd expect from a Bentley designed for a sheikh. We're talking acres of leather, enough wood veneer to build a treehouse, and enough technology to make NASA jealous. It's like a luxury hotel suite on wheels with a price tag to match, I'm sure. Now, I'm all for a bit of luxury, but this thing is so big it's practically impractical. Imagine trying to navigate the narrow streets of an old European city in this thing. It'd be like trying to thread a needle with a fire hose. Of course, practicality probably isn't high on the sheikh's list of priorities. When you're the leader of a nation practically swimming in oil, I suppose you can afford to be a bit extravagant. And extravagant this car most certainly is. Now, Bentley won't divulge the specifics of the security features on this beast, but you can bet your bottom dollar it's got more armor than a tank. Bulletproof glass? Check. Reinforced chassis? You bet. Enough electronic countermeasures to jam every radio signal in a 5-mile radius, probably. But here's the thing about big, heavy cars. They're not exactly known for their nimble handling. I imagine this thing corners like a barge in a hurricane, and don't even get me started on the fuel economy. It probably drinks petrol like Richard Hammond at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Still, you've got to admire the sheer audacity of it all. It's a car that says, I've arrived and I'm not afraid to show it. And in a world full of beige Toyota Camrys, I suppose that's not such a bad thing, is it? Chapter 6. Paul Biya, Armored Range Rover Sentinel. From the deserts of the Middle East, we now travel to the African continent, where we find a leader with a penchant for a more rugged form of luxury. This, my friends, is the chariot of Paul Biya, the president of Cameroon. Now, you might be thinking, a Range Rover for a president? Isn't that a bit, well, pedestrian? But don't let the familiar silhouette fool you. This isn't your average Chelsea tractor. This, my friends, is the Range Rover Sentinel, and it's about as subtle as a hippo in a bathtub. This thing is built like a tank, with enough armor plating to make a centurion blush. It's designed to withstand attacks from just about anything, from AK-47S to landmines. And if things get really hairy, it's even got an escape hatch hidden in the back, you know, just in case you need to make a quick getaway. But the best part, it still looks like a Range Rover. Sure, it's a bit taller and wider than the standard model, but it's not going to draw unwanted attention to itself. And that, my friends, is the beauty of it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why a Range Rover? Well, for starters, it's got that go anywhere, do anything attitude that's perfect for a country like Cameroon. It can handle rough terrain, potholed roads, and the occasional herd of wildebeest without breaking a sweat. Plus, it's got that air of understated luxury that just oozes sophistication. It's the kind of car that says, I'm important, but I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. And for a leader like Paul Biya, who's known for his long and, shall we say, eventful reign, that's a pretty good look. Of course, all that security and luxury comes at a price. And I'm not just talking about the hefty price tag. You see, this thing weighs in at over 4 tons. That's about the same as a small elephant. So it might not be the fastest car on the road, but it's certainly one of the safest. And at the end of the day, isn't that what really matters when you're a world leader? Right, so we've had a look at some seriously tough motors. But what happens when you want to save the planet while simultaneously dodging bullets? You end up with something like Macron's DS7 Crossback Elise. Don't let the name fool you. This ain't some glorified bicycle with a baguette holder. This thing's a hybrid, you see. Part diesel-guzzling powerhouse, part electric scooter. One minute it's wafting along on battery power, all silent and smug. The next it's churning out enough fumes to make a volcano jealous. Classic French contradiction, really, but here's the thing, it's actually quite a looker. Sleek, modern, with enough curves to make a Parisian architect blush, and inside, well, it's about as French as you can get. Plush leather seats, more buttons than a Chanel suit, and probably a secret compartment for storing Gauloise cigarettes. Now, you might think a hybrid SUV wouldn't be the first choice for a world leader's security detail, and you'd be right. But don't let the eco-friendly facade fool you. This DS is packing some serious heat. We're talking reinforced chassis, bulletproof glass, probably even a system that releases tear gas scented with Chanel No. 5. But the real star of the show is the communication system. Apparently Macron can run the entire country from the back of this thing. Video conferencing, secure lines, the lot. He could probably launch a nuclear missile while stuck in Parisian traffic. Not that I'm suggesting he should, of course, and if things do get a bit hairy, the DS can transform from eco-warrior to escape artist in a flash. It's got a powerful engine for outrunning pesky paparazzi, and I wouldn't be surprised if it had a few more tricks up its sleeve. Ejector seats maybe? Oil slicks? Who knows with these Frenchies? One thing's for sure though, Macron's DS7 Crossback Elysée is a far cry from the boring old limousines we're used to seeing world leaders in. It's stylish, it's technologically advanced, and it's probably got a few surprises that would make James Bond jealous. Right, from the boulevards of Paris to, well, wherever it is Kim Jong-un hangs out, probably a secret underground lair filled with portraits of himself and a lifetime supply of cheese. But when he does venture out, he does it in style. Forget your proletarian tractors, comrades. Kimmy boy rolls in a Mercedes Maybach 600 Pullman guard. Now you might think a dictator with a penchant for nuclear threats wouldn't be caught dead in a German car, but even dictators appreciate a bit of luxury, and the Maybach oozes it from every handcrafted seam. We're talking reclining leather seats, enough legroom to park a small car, and probably a champagne fridge stocked with crystal. But don't let the opulence fool you. This ain't no ordinary limo. Underneath that sleek exterior lies a fortress on wheels. Bulletproof glass? Obviously. Reinforced chassis? You bet. It's probably got enough armor plating to withstand a direct hit from one of Kim's own missiles. And speaking of missiles, have you seen the state of the roads in North Korea? Potholes the size of small houses, more craters than the moon, but does Kim care? Not a jot. He's got the Maybach's magic carpet ride to smooth out the bumps. Seriously, this thing has a suspension system that would make a Rolls-Royce weep with envy. Of course, all that luxury and security comes at a price. And by price, I mean the freedom of the North Korean people. But hey, who needs freedom when you can ride around in a rolling palace, right? I bet he even has a little button that plays Ride of the Valkyries every time he gets in. And if things do get a bit dicey, well, the Maybach is more than equipped to handle it. Run flat tires? Check. Oxygen supply? Naturally. I wouldn't be surprised if it had a built-in escape tunnel that pops out the back and burrows underground. It's probably got more secrets than Kim Jong-un's haircut. So there you have it, Kim Jong-un's Mercedes Maybach S 600 Pullman guard. A luxurious, imposing and slightly terrifying symbol of power. Just try not to think about the human rights abuses while you're admiring the paint job. Alright, buckle up. Because we're about to tackle the granddaddy of them all, the US President's Cadillac, the Beast. This ain't your average presidential limo, folks. This is a rolling testament to American might, excess, and probably a few other things that would make the Founding Fathers spin in their graves. Forget sleek and sophisticated. This thing is big, brash, and built like a tank. Seriously, it's rumored to weigh as much as a Boeing 757, and probably has more horsepower than a herd of Clydesdales. They don't call it the Beast for nothing, you know. Now, you might think a car this big would stick out like a sore thumb, and you'd be right, but that's sort of the point. The Beast isn't about blending in, it's about making a statement. America is here, and we're not afraid to show it. Subtlety be damned. But don't let the in-your-face exterior fool you. The Beast is more than just a hulking mass of metal and intimidation. It's practically a mobile bunker with enough defensive and offensive capabilities to make even the most hardened general weak at the knees. We're talking bulletproof glass thick enough to stop a depleted uranium round, a chassis reinforced with enough steel to build a small skyscraper, and probably a few other tricks up its sleeve that would make Q Branch jealous. Rumour has it, it even has its own oxygen supply and a cache of the president's blood type, just in case things get really hairy. And if, God forbid, the unthinkable happens and the president needs to make a quick exit, well, the Beast has that covered too. It's got run-flat tyres that can keep going even after a direct hit, enough torque to outrun a pack of rabid wolves, and probably a few other escape mechanisms that are strictly classified. So there you have it, the Beast, the ultimate symbol of American power, paranoia and automotive excess. It's big, it's brash, and it's probably got enough firepower to take on a small country. But hey, when you're the leader of the free world, you can never be too careful, right? Right then, let's talk about a man who knows a thing or two about security and probably has a decent collection of those high-visibility jackets. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India. He's often seen about in this, the Mercedes Maybach S650 Guard. Now, this isn't some cobbled-together ambassador with a bit of extra steel plating. Oh, no. This German masterpiece is the automotive equivalent of a fortress on wheels. It's been tested to withstand attacks from assault rifles, hand grenades, you name it. I'd bet my last Pecora that this thing could probably deflect a cow on the M25, which is more than I can say for a certain Italian supercar. And if, by some miracle, someone does manage to put a scratch on this thing, well, worry not. This car probably has enough spare parts in the boot to build a small hatchback. But it's not just about brute force, is it? The S650 Guard also has some rather clever tricks up its sleeve. We're talking oxygen supply, fire suppression system, and probably a panic button that orders a biryani directly to your location. Just in case all that bulletproofing makes you peckish. Now, you might think that being encased in a rolling bunker wouldn't exactly scream luxury. But you'd be wrong. Inside, the Maybach S650 Guard is positively palatial. We're talking reclining seats, champagne coolers, enough leather to make a herd of cows weep. It's the kind of place you'd be happy to spend hours in, even if those hours are spent navigating the chaotic streets of Delhi, which, let's be honest, can sometimes feel like an extreme sport. And let's not forget the performance. This thing packs a monstrous engine that could probably tow the Taj Mahal. Not that you'd ever need to, of course. Unless, someone decides to relocate it. All in all, the Maybach S650 Guard is a fitting chariot for a man who runs a country of over 1 billion people. It's safe, it's luxurious, and it's about as subtle as a tiger in a telephone booth. Which, when you think about it, is rather fitting, isn't it? Right, now from India, we're heading over to the Middle Kingdom where size matters, and so does making your own cars. This, my friends, is the Hongqi N501, the chosen chariot of Xi Jinping, the big man himself. Now, the name might sound like a dodgy sat-nav system, but don't let that fool you. This, my friends, is China's answer to the Rolls-Royce Phantom, and it's about as subtle as a fireworks display in a library. The Hongqi, or red flag, is all about making a statement. It's big, it's imposing, and it's about as aerodynamic as a brick. Now, the Chinese government isn't exactly known for its transparency, are they? So, details about the N501's security features are scarcer than a vegan in a steakhouse. But it's safe to assume that this thing is loaded with more protective measures than a Ming vase in a museum. We're talking bulletproof glass thicker than my skull after a night on the Tsingtao, run-flat tires that could probably survive a lunar landing, and I wouldn't be surprised if it had a hidden tea dispenser that doubled as a tear gas launcher. Because why not? Now, getting a peek inside the N501 is about as easy as getting an invite to a panda tea party. But rumours suggest that it's more luxurious than a Beijing penthouse suite. Think plush carpets, silk upholstery, and probably a karaoke machine that plays nothing but patriotic anthems. The engine, well, that's another mystery wrapped in an enigma, shrouded in a veil of secrecy. Some say it's a monstrous V12, others whisper about a hybrid system smoother than a panda's. Well, you get the picture. But one thing's for sure, this car is a symbol of China's ambition, its desire to be seen as a global superpower, and you know what? I wouldn't bet against them. They've built a wall, haven't they? Surely a decent car is a piece of cake. Well, there you have it, a whistle-stop tour of the metal monsters that ferry around the world's most important people. From bomb-proof Bentleys to Chinese chariots, these vehicles are more than just cars. They're symbols of power, of prestige, and of the lengths that some people will go to avoid getting stuck in traffic. These incredible vehicles not only provide unmatched security and luxury, but also symbolize the power and prestige of their owners. Stay tuned for more insights into the world of luxury and extravagance.